Hi, Bunty. Good morning from San Francisco.
Hey Rohit, how are things with you today? Today, we've what have we done? It's a nice sunny day. I think I'm going to try and bake something, and because I think the missus in the household is a very powerful figure. Women are generally powerful figures, uh, particularly in baking in my household. But today, I've decided that I will try my hand at it. What's your plan today?
Oh, I'm just sort of hanging around. You know, the wife and kid are actually out of town. I'm just, watching B-grade films, the kind my wife is not very interested in watching, sort of low-quality science fiction. I find that very relaxing, but also doing a little bit of work. And, the idea of cooking for myself crossed my mind, but, very quickly I think it was resolved in favor of DoorDash or Uber Eats or something like that. So speaking about, relationships, marriage, weddings, etc., you sent me
Yeah.
a very interesting link,
Uh-huh.
which is titled, this is on NDTV, Revolver Rani in Uttar Pradesh stops wedding, kidnaps groom, here's why. And the lead says the woman in Uttar Pradesh's Bundelkhand was accompanied by two young men who kidnapped the groom at gunpoint from the venue and drove away
Mm-hmm.
late on Tuesday night. So the
Gotcha.
backstory to this is that this woman says the groom was her boyfriend, and some locals say the groom may have secretly married her earlier. So there's the story itself, but as always, the setting to me is of equal interest. Bundelkhand, Uttar Pradesh, gun culture. So what are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, first of all, let's first pick up on the fact that there is some testimony floating around that there was a secret marriage. I have
Hmm.
always found it hilarious, this idea of secret marriage, because, you know, is it a ritual that legitimizes premarital sex? Is that what it is? And
Hmm.
what we have to, is it a trip to the temple where, because, in a lot of films, you will see
Hmm.
in his films that, there is Besharam Tapodi in motorbike
Hmm.
who's in love with lady, and she says that we will be together, but my father is trying to arrange for a marriage, but we shall secret marriage, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there'll be temple bell ringing, and it'll all be solitary affair. It'll be far away temple by the river. So
Hmm.
my first angle on this was, what was secret marriage? Is there, so was there some proof? But um, that interested me. The other thing was that she pulled up in an SUV
Hmm.
uh, with other men, a gang of men, and kind of did a full and devi for love,
Hmm.
right? So no kind of money exchanged hands, as far as I can understand. She just dropped out and took this guy away. And I thought, what was going through the pandit's mind who was conducting the ceremony? No, if you think that, he is got an assignment that aaj tere ko shadi karna hai.
Huh.
Mr. Yadav has to be married to Mrs. Yadav, and he's thinking this is going to be an ordinary day in the workplace. I will get 4 or 5 extra saris, two
Hmm.
kilos of rice, 12 liters of ghee, whatever it is. He's kind of factored in. He had not factored in at the start of his working day some disgruntled lover
Hmm.
walking in with however many thugs she walked in with,
Hmm.
a woman harassing the groom. So
Hmm.
those 2 points, secret marriage, what it was, and harassment of potential groom for being ex-lover. And I think the other thing, I don't know, we've got women listeners and men listeners on this podcast. I think my advice would have been in her situation to kind of move on.
Right.
This was uncalled for, but then again, in UP with guns, moving on is very difficult.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just, so I want to just add a couple of things. I'll respond to the many excellent points you've raised. First, para two of this story says the 25-year-old woman was accompanied by about two young men. And I'm looking at the
Right.
13 comments, and, the comments are like inane for the most part. But one guy has rightly pointed out,
Yeah.
so he said the article says accompanied by quote about two men unquote. Please, what is about two men? Either they were two or they were not. It's not that difficult to count two. So this is there's a comment here about the low quality of Indian journalism, and I don't want to sound prejudiced and say that journalism in provincial context is not as precise because we see this with you know reporting in the cities and all also. Then, of course, there's some guy, Mr. P9. I wish I was kidnapped by some Revolver Rani on my wedding day, but somehow I feel happy
Nice
reading that a
one.
nice
Nice
one.
one.
So total projection, and then finally one other point: the bride Bharti Yadav is inconsolable, cursed her luck. At the groom's father says that there was definitely something suspicious about my son, and
Right.
and then the story ends with the cop saying that privately more than one cop expressed admiration for the Revolver Rani. What she did,
Ah,
that
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that a nice one. What she did shows that there are some men who can teach Londo bracket
Yes.
young boys that they will be punished for betrayal, said one, asking not to be named. Now,
That what the wild one, Rohit, jumping is not to be named.
not to be named. No, exactly. So, yeah, my thoughts exactly. So, it just tells us something about. I just think that as far as sociological understanding goes, we have barely scratched the surface of UP. Because, hyper patriarchal culture, but within it, you have like, gangster woman with gun.
Yes.
So, it
And
is,
gangster woman who has indulged, as far as we can indulge is the wrong word, who has been party to
yeah,
a relationship
right,
slash sex before or in kind of informal marriage. So there is kind of lots of triggers here.
right.
A lady who has had sex with this man in an informal marriage, or maybe we are extending too far out. We don't know. I will, let's pull back on that. We do not know. There was an informal marriage, but the fact that this lady's taken up a personal vendetta, Revolver Rani, she is total character.
Yeah, completely. And I think, again, if I were to put my pedantic hat on, I'd say that there's something very interesting here about, desire, tradition, repression, patriarchy, and a whole series of relationships waiting to be unpacked out there. But yeah, and I think again, truth is stranger than fiction, certainly when it comes to UP and North India. This is something that I'm realizing increasingly with each passing day. What came of this story, I don't know. How the issue was resolved, again, is something I don't know. But one way or another, yes. I mean, I agree with that gentleman that there's something about this news that's, funny and it's sort of heartening because, you have this groom who's obviously a kind of cowardly guy, right? He's gone ahead, he's
Yeah.
committed to this woman. I don't know what he
Yeah.
was thinking. Perhaps he was thinking that even after he got sort of officially married, he would continue with this sort of secret marriage. Uh,
Hmm.
but he was really taught a lesson as I think he deserved to be. So more
Rohit,
power.
while we, yeah, yeah, more power. And while we are at it, just as we kind of, I think we have to close the story down because we're almost at time. One of the things that I'm also picking up is at the time of going to press, the groom was still missing, huh?
Oh, okay, very interesting.
So locals say that Ashok Yadav, the groom who is still missing,
Yeah,
met his captors a few months ago. So this is an office romance that has gone wrong, right? So
right.
we need to do something about office romance. They fell in love, some allege they
Yeah,
are secretly married. So the conversation that we have about secret marriage, again, we must clarify for all listeners, it's allegations, and we were reacting to allegations, right? It's not no basis in fact, but
right,
the guy is still missing, and this is a workplace romance got gone wrong.
right.
And this kind of throws up a shout out to people who engage in workplace romance, because it has more dangers than you can honorably budget for,
Right. Yeah,
is what I'd say.
excellent point. Yeah, and it's something that our HR is obviously like sorely under-equipped to deal with. We had done a piece on HR. Okay, so on that note, I think let's wrap this up, and we'll be back very soon with another story. Take care, Manti.
Chalo, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.